to offer deep gratitude for all the yogis that have come before us for so many hundreds of years, recognizing all the people who have paved a spiritual path for you, whatever your traditions are, whatever your spiritual traditions are. Let's just offer and bow into gratitude for those that have come before us. This yearning of the nature of humanity to seek this deep inner wisdom, the connection with all things, how to find our way home into that. So conjure up any spiritual teachers you've had in your life from when you were very young until now. And it doesn't have to be, like the head of a spiritual tradition that you belong to. It can be your second grade teacher or your dog. Okay, so um, whoever has been a guide for you. And just travel through the years and pinpoint people who have shown light and guided your way. And just offer a bit of yourself to them, not only bowing in gratitude, but also bowing in responsibility to carry that light forward to share with others. You may notice some commonality amongst all the people you're thinking of. You might notice some very big differences as well. To know that our spiritual guides come in so many different forms. Let's take a moment to bow into that. I'm so sorry for the dings on my computer. That's just our bell ringing. So bow into that. And then release the hands down. Keep your eyes closed for a moment. And just come into the state of presence in your body. See if you can sense where you are in space today. How is your breath? How is your body feeling? So, as you find yourself upright and true, see if you can feel both the grounding below you, connecting, as well as this upward, expansive, outward energy. Try to live simultaneously within the yielding and the expansion. Let your breath be what infuses all. All right, let's go ahead and open our eyes and come onto our mat. So let's find our way onto our back. Take some time to stretch your body out and enjoy. Knowing that this is a gentle yoga class, you can rest assured that we're going to care for your body here and not overdo. So rest easy. When you come down onto the floor, have a little bit of Shavasana infused right in the beginning where we come into that space of surrender, letting go. So whatever the troubles are that you can just kind of put off to the side right now, you can always pick them up if you choose to. Just see if you can melt them into the earth. Give your troubles to the earth for a moment. Drop down into the bones. Drop into the breath. Sometimes that state of finding the yielding is easier when we're lying down. So just notice what's here. All right, and then find your way into a bigger stretch. So arms and legs extending. Feel that little invigoration of a back bend if your arms are able to come overhead. And even if one arm can't or both arm can't, you can still find the big open chest. Spread out the bottom ribs, flare your bottom ribs so that the diaphragm gets a little bit of opening too. And then relax and bring your knees into your chest and sway a little bit and soothe your spine. Okay, rock from left to right and just feel, maybe you're super bony and it's a little painful to rock left and right. So you just modify however feels right to you. All right, and then let's circle the knees one direction. Stay present with the ease of your breath, and let's circle the knees the other direction. And just warming up the hips, warming up the SI joints, feeling the ease across your back. And then bring the knees into the chest and pull them away from each other and bring them back in and pull them apart. And just find some range of motion for your hip joints. And then let's pause for a moment as let your legs come as wide as they want to come right now. So your knees pulled apart. And just move a little bit, like a couple inches forward toward your ribs, a couple inches away toward your ribs, and just sense into the hip joints themselves. And when we take some extreme range of motion, and this may not be extreme for you, it might feel very normal to you. For others, it might feel quite extreme to have our knees pulled apart. But just notice, can you feel your hip joints a little differently? And then bring the knees back in and rock again, just release that. And now feel a sense of being able to bring your knees close into your chest. Give a good squeeze and notice what's happening in your hip joints now. Do you have any pinching or compressing that doesn't feel good, or does the compression feel nice? Okay, let's take the right knee in and stretch the left leg long on the floor and wiggle out your fingers and your toes. Maybe your fingers can't, maybe only one hand. And then switch and go left knee into the chest and right leg long on the floor. Feel the compression in your hip. Hopefully it feels okay. And then spread out your limbs one more time. So wide, expansive self. So know your body. Get to be inside right now. So as you stretch out, feel your fingers and toes and wiggle them. Get to the very edges of your body. Those 6 points, fingers, toes, crown, tail. And then we're going to bring our knees into our chest and pick our head up and draw in. One more time, starfish out. Open the breath, spread out the limbs. Exhale, draw the head and knees in. And then release your feet down onto the ground, arms out to the side. Let's enjoy some gentle twisting. So feet wide on the mat and just sway from side to side with your knees. Take some deep breaths. Let's just be ever mindful in our practice today of just trying to come home inside our bodies. That there's no agenda to fix anything or change anything. It's just here, and it's just being welcoming into your bones. Like, let yourself be present. If the way you handle stress has disembodied you in any way, numbed you in any way, let's take an opportunity here to use our practice to come home to ourselves. Take the soles of your feet together and let your knees fall out. Hopefully we open the hips enough for this to feel comfortable. And, normally I say support underneath your knees. And if we get a chance to do this again at the end, we will. But let's for now just feel the openness across our inner thighs. Maybe the vulnerability of having your hip joints kind of having to be in a open position in this way. How are you guarding them? Are your glutes engaged? Are you gripping your inner thighs? Are you holding your breath? What can you do to try to melt all your muscles and let your knees just fall with gravity? And if you're able to do that to the best of your ability, also notice if you tend to list or feel that you list from one side, if you're lower on one leg than the other. Take a deep breath into the open chest. All right, let's pick our knees back up, bring our knees into our chest, and then we're going to grab our feet and come into happy baby pose. So let your hip joints be soft as they compress. There's no tension or force attached, and let yourself rock from side to side. All right, and then roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees, finding all fours. And as you start to move into some cat-cows, let's just enjoy the way the body feels. Okay, so once again, let your goal be just coming home inside yourself. So as you feel the range of motion in your spine, let it bring you home into sensation. Try not to go past what feels comfortable. And, by comfortable, I don't mean easy, and I don't necessarily mean quiet, but just something that's not causing you pain or discomfort. All right, and then spin things around. Maybe you want to circle through your shoulders, move through your hips, find any kind of movement pattern that feels really good in the body. You can retract and protract the shoulder blades, pulling them apart and bringing them in. Move your neck around, anything that feels nice. And eventually we're going to find our way down to child's pose. Feel the deep compression in your hips again. Feel free to have a little anterior tilt to the pelvis before you go down. So if you feel caught, if your hips feel caught at all, try to come back up, lift the sit bones wide and come back down again. Walk the hands over to the left side of the mat and open up the right rib cage. Let's come home to the breath again. When you have found yourself in the most profound of your practices, your yoga practices, amongst other practices, I'm sure you do, walk the hands over to the other side. What is the magic alchemy for you that helps you to be in that space where your practice feeds you well? Is it the way you pay attention to your breath? Is it finding a still point in your body? Is it just the pure art of moving? What is it? What helps you? And if you find something, see if you can dedicate your practice to that today, to really focus in on that skill. Come up onto all fours, reach the right arm up in the air, exhale and slide that shoulder down, finding a twist. Spread open the shoulder blades, let them pull apart from each other a bit. Relax your head toward the floor and breathe. Inhale, reaching the arm back up. Place the hand down onto the ground and change sides. Left arm lifting, slide that arm through, gaze toward the floor. Let the neck soften, let the femur bones move back. How does your chest, the back of your chest feel? Can you feel those back ribs? Can you feel the ribs around your sides? Breathe into them. And then inhale and bring that arm all the way back up again and place it down. Curl the toes under and find dog pose. So as you extend through the spine, feel free to move around. Do you want to pedal your feet and drop one heel? Does the feeling of a deep stretch, is it gratifying and centering and creating grounding for you? Or do you kind of shy away and be like, oh, that zing hurts, I'm going to pull away from that? So just find what feeds you in your practice. Relax your eyes and melt. Feel the femur bones lift up, 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 and back. Come back home to the breath over and over. Let the head melt and soften. And then walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Bend your knees a lot. Wag your tail. Roll around in your shoulders. Move your head. Anything that's supportive and feels good in the body. And then inhale for a halfway lift. Stretch the legs. Open the backs of the legs up. Sit bones lifting and widening. Feel the feet open up. And exhale and melt back down again. Push off your feet and rise up to stand. If you're dizzy, always you can take your hands to the midline and give a good squeeze for a moment. Find the breath. Inhale and reach the arms up. Open your chest wide. Spread open your wings. Press your palms out. Let's just do a little nerve glide, nerve stretch for your wrists. You can roll them around. Okay, roll your fingers around. Whatever feels good. And then come back to a cactus. Open the chest and then exhale and round in. Arms coming straight up. Lean back a little bit if it feels nice. Keep that chest broad. And then exhale and fold forward. Relax your head. Melt it a little bit. Inhale for a halfway lift. Sense into the body. All the places that wake up when you move into different postures. Exhale and come back down. Let's try that one more time. Halfway lift. Maybe your hands want to come high on your thighs or on blocks. Lift the sit bones and melt again. Let's step our left foot back, come into a lunge. Right foot is coming forward. Finding the extension through your heart. Place your back knee onto the ground and feel the openness through your psoas. Uncurl your toes. Feel the hip open in the back. So we're going to take a little tour around the hips today. So just feel the openness in the front of your hip and try not to just fall into that. So, when we overstretch, it's not always so good for us. So hug back a little bit, your front heel and back knee hugging toward each other so that the psoas on that back leg flexes while it stretches. Bring the arms anywhere that feels nice. Include a little baby back bend in your spine if that feels nice to you. How is your breath? The most important thing you're doing is breathing. And then release your hands down onto the ground again. Walk the back foot forward and fold. Let that hip that you just stretched open relax into a compressed state. So bend your knees a lot. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt down. Let's step the other foot back, coming into a lunge with your left foot forward. Open up through your heart, stretch and extend. Enjoy the opening of the back leg as well as the compression in the front. And if anything, is not good, modify it. Come out a little bit, go deeper a little bit, change something. Place your back knee down onto the ground. Uncurl your toes and lay those toes flat. Find the extension, and as you're ready, come on up. You can bring your hands onto your knees to begin if you want. And feel that sense of opening through the hip flexors on that back leg without falling, without sinking. Recommit to the strength. Open yourself up. Spread your toes in that front foot so you can move your foot deep into the earth. And rise up. Lift your arms if it feels nice. Have a little back bend in your upper back if you want. Just what feels good, what's stable, what's giving you lots of room to breathe. Do you feel a difference from one hip to the other? All right, and then relax. Bring that front foot back. Come onto all fours. You can choose to turn this into a plank if you feel inclined. If you're taking a little more gentleness on your shoulders, just stay here on all fours for a moment. Find your breath, find the long, long spine. And then we're going to come down and lie on the floor. Roll the shoulders a couple of times if you want. Just find some juice in those shoulder blades. And inhale and rise up to cobra pose. Open the chest. Exhale and melt back down. Let's repeat that one more time. Shoulders back. Open the chest. Exhale and release. Come onto all fours. Nourish the spine. So feel free to wiggle your toes around. Wiggle your hips around, wiggle your neck around. Anything that's going to help you just release. All right, and then we're going to sway our hips. So drop your hips all the way over to the left, as far over as they comfortably can go. And we're going to come back and we're going to drop our hips all the way to the right, as comfortably as they can go. Just warming up those outer hips a little bit, getting them to wake up. Take the left leg, bring it in front of the right leg, and sit back down toward your heels, or back heel, I should say, one heel. Find the breath. Then come back up onto all fours, unwind that knee, stretch the foot all the way back. Curl the toe under and lengthen. And then place that knee down onto the ground. Other leg, bringing your thigh over your thigh, like cow face pose. Drop your hips back down toward the heels. Take a breath. Let the back stretch, let the hips stretch. And then come on up and stretch that leg all the way straight. Curl the toes under. All right, find your way up to dog pose. 2 legs now with feet curled under. Extend through the spine. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Walk your feet forward and come and fold. If you want to block between your thighs, grab a block to put between your thighs for chair pose. If you don't need a block, you don't have to have a block. So a block is very good if your knees bother you. It's very stabilizing for the legs. So it's a nice way to support your legs in chair pose. So come down and you get to do whatever you want with your arms. So your arms can be in the traditional stand posture, your arms can be out, or cactus, your hands can be on your hips. You can have your arms up in the air. So anywhere feels good to you. Rediscover your breath, drop the shoulders, come into the flow, maybe even close your eyes. Start to wake up the hip flexors into some engagement, waking up the quads into some engagement. Breathing deeply. All right, and then we're going to stand up straight and tall. Take that block out of there. Take your legs a little bit wider and come into a wider chair. So a squat. Feet are to the edges of the mat or even a bit wider. Elbows can land on top of the knees or inside the knees, whichever feels more stable for you. Extend the spine, feel the deep work in the legs. So the glutes are working, the quads are working, the hamstrings. Press the feet into the floor, feel your muscles warm. Feel the compression in your hips. Are you able to evenly weight into both feet? Place your hands down onto the ground and lift your hips high. Legs come straight. You can put your hands on blocks if you need more height underneath you. Extend the spine and then heel toe your feet back in. Turn to the long edge of your mat. And we're going to come into a wide-legged stance, turning your feet forward for a moment. Find your breath. What's happening with my computer? I hope that you're not, seeing all sorts of things pop up. All right, so 2 wide-legged stance. Spread your arms out to the side. Your feet are pointing forward. We're going to come a little bit down, maybe even halfway down, and you can change your arm position to hold onto your hips. Let your knees soften here so they're not hyperextending. Widen your sit bones, press your feet into the floor. So this is active. There's a lot of stretching and flexing going on. And then start to melt your way down a little bit deeper. Feeling the inner thighs, the inner hamstrings. You can put your hands on blocks or on the floor. And then we're going to come all the way over to our left foot, or our right foot rather, and drop into that bent knee. Now you may not go this far. Maybe your knee doesn't or hip doesn't flex this deeply. Just go as far as your body can go. Your hands stay on blocks or on the floor. Stretch through the inner thighs. So there's so much that gets involved in your hips being able to be free. Inner thighs are some of that. And then come back up. Pause in the middle. So before we go to the other side, this is like the widest squat you could ever do. So wide leg squat. Drop the hips down. Feel your feet spread open the bones. And then we're going to find our way over to the side. And especially if you have a knee that gives up on you sometimes, this might be very challenging. You might have a place where it's difficult to kind of come into this state. So don't worry if your knee doesn't flex all the way. Stretch into the length of that leg. Open the heart. All right, and then one more time, we're coming into our big wide squat. We're going to hold our feet on the inner ankles and press your elbows against the shins or the inner knees. Open up the inner thighs a little bit and drop your hips down into that pocket. See what you can drop. Extend the heart. Breathe. And then go ahead and come on up. Now, instead of having your feet pointing straight, we're going to turn our feet out a little bit and come into goddess pose. So drop, hopefully, we've warmed up our hips a lot for this, so we can have some depth here. Keep yourself open. So if your knees don't like this posture, there's a few things to try. Number one, you can put your backside against a prop, like a table or a wall, so that you have a little support. Alternately, you can just go a little higher. Don't feel like you have to go super deep, but go as deep as your body allows you to go. Spin your feet so the toes turn out isometrically on the mat. Activate a lot of those deeper muscles in your hips. Find any position with your arms that feels like you want to be in space. So bringing your arms up over your head obviously is a little bit more effort. So decide, where's your breath regulating best? What feels best in your joints? Drop some weight into your feet, spread out the bones of your feet, open up your knees. Now, are you still very thankful for all your yoga teachers that came before you, making you do strong poses and squatting for long periods of time? So let yourself come into the breath. See what it feels like to just stream the breath through you so that you can stay through discomfort. Change something in your arms before changing in your legs if you feel like you can't stay. Deep breaths, recommit to rooting the feet, open the chest. Is one leg giving out easier, faster? All right, and then let's come up to stand. Turn your feet straight for a moment. Starfish your body open. And then relax. Walk your feet forward and face the front of your mat again. Okay, bounce a little bit, sway, anything that feels good. We're gonna stand on one foot. So we're standing on the right leg, lifting the left leg, bent knee in the air. So start to activate the outer hips now, getting them to be helpful for holding you up. Open the breath, bring your arms out to the side. When you're ready, open up the knee. See what you can do to not let your torso turn with this. Well, how far? You might go just a couple of inches out to the side in order to stay stable through the rest of your body. So only go as far as your body allows, keeping this thigh bone moving back, the knee soft, the hip in. How's your breath? Where are your arms? Put them in a place that helps you. And then come back. Place that foot down onto the ground. Have a moment. Wiggle it out. You can rock, you can jump, you can just be still. Have a breath. Enjoy another breath. Let yourself ground into your other foot. Standing up on that leg, knee in the air. Okay, so our left hip is hugging in. The thigh bone's moving back. The knee is so soft, so we're not locking out our knee. Lift up through your spine. As you root into the foot, let it rebound up to your crown. Put your arms in a place that helps your breath and balance. And then open your leg out to the side. Okay. Now, if you get torquey in this knee, back off. So you don't want to have your standing leg destabilize. Find your breath. Soften your shoulders. Notice if balance poses frustrate you. This is good information. Stay with the frustration. Allow yourself to just breathe through it. And then place your foot back down when you're ready. Inhale, 2 arms up to the sky. Exhale and fold in half. Relax your neck. Halfway lift, extending the spine. Let's go ahead and step back to all fours or plank pose. You decide. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. And let's go ahead and come all the way down to the floor. Melt here. Let's walk ourselves over to the right side of our mat and bring our left knee high up toward our armpit. Come into Sphinx pose with the arms and see what you can do to compress into that hip, to drop some weight there. Notice your sacroiliac joints and your lumbar spine. If you're all compressed, go lower with your upper body until you feel like you can stabilize with your core and get into that hip. And then when you're ready, lie down onto the ground. And we're going to open this up into a big giant twist. Let the knee leave the floor. Deep breath here. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And then relax, melt, come back onto your belly and scoot your body over to the other side. Let's bring our right knee up high. Decide how your Sphinx pose feels. Maybe you need to be belly down and chest down and head down on the floor. So just see what's stabilizing your low back best. Use your core. Drop weight into the hip. You might feel stretch through your back leg as well, through the hip flexors. All right, and then let's go ahead and find our way over into our twist. So we're rolling onto our back a bit. Open that arm up. I'm running out of room, so my arm's cactus, but you can do whatever you want. Let the knee leave the floor. Find your breath. All right, and then spinning back around again, coming up onto all fours. Find some time to move your spine around, release anything from that pose that didn't feel good, maybe too much of a back bend, and you need to kind of swirl your low back and your hips around, just anything that needs nourishing. Then find your way to dog pose. Spine grows long here. Deep breath in and away. Let's bring our right foot forward when you're ready and turn and open up to the side. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. So perhaps this pose feels a little bit better from all the work that we've done already. See what it feels like to open yourself up. Find your breath. Bend your knee as much as your body is able. Maybe you go naturally a little deeper. Sometimes when we do this pose first and our hips aren't very warm, it can be challenging to let our hip open. Put your arms anywhere that you want them to be. Just like when we were in the goddess pose, let your foot do that spin thing. So the jar lids where your toes are turning out to the right, nothing's moving. It's all isometrics and the heels hugging in toward the knee, the big toe side of your foot. So we're spinning a little external rotation in the leg. Open your breath. Feel grounded through the back leg as well. Let your hips turn as much as you want and need to for this pose to feel comfortable in your pelvis. Relax the shoulders. What helps you breathe better? What helps you manage the staying power of the pose? Can you stay with the long exhales? Can you feel some softness in your neck and shoulders? Maybe change your arm position around. Let's go ahead and come back up. And we're just going to turn our feet and do the same pose to the second side. So remember, if you ever have a knee joint that just doesn't hold you up well, I know there's a few of you in here that have some knee issues, you can always have a block against a wall. I'm putting it on my couch right now so that you have something to put your shin against. This can be very helpful for keeping you stable, just like the block between the thighs for chair pose, having your knee right below your kneecap at your shin on pressing against the block can be very nourishing for your stability. So if your knee is not a happy knee, this is a great way to help make it a little happier. Okay, so arms go wherever you want. Breathe your way here, whatever you're doing. Feel that external rotation in the front leg, so move the foot. Nothing's actually moving, but just the work of the foot. Let that light up the hip. Feel that back leg stretch. Have a little internal rotation of your back thigh so you're not overdoing the stretch. Breathe deeply. Soften the shoulders. And then let's come out of there. Turn your feet on the side edges of your, turn to the long edge and turn your feet in. Pigeon toe yourself just a little bit. Come on down. Bring your hands onto blocks or the floor, whatever feels good. Finding the breath. Let's come back to walking, heel toe your feet in, and then come up to stand. Once again, wiggle out the hips. You can bounce, you can just march. Sometimes just some movement can help loosen up the tension of working so hard in those outer hips. Find your breath. We're going to root into the right foot again, lifting the left knee high in the air. Bring your arms up or out, and we're going to find a twist here. So turning to the side, open up your obliques. See if you can get them to be awake. Let the standing, the right thigh move back, the knee is soft, the hip is in, the shoulders drop down, the chest broadens. And then come back to center. Place that foot down onto the ground. Take a breath and enjoy your 2 feet on the floor. Stand on your left leg, right knee comes up. Find your arms lifting, and then bring them out to the sides and find a twist on this side. See what you can do to relax the shoulders. Use your core instead of your neck and shoulders to hold you here. Allow that thigh bone to move back. The knee is soft. Feel your feet, both of them, spread wide. Keep the hip hugging in. All right, and then come back up. Reaching the arms, place your foot down onto the ground. Close your eyes for a moment, Tadasana. Let the pose drain away. Feel yourself come into yielding again. Feel yourself find your breath again. All right, inhale, reaching the arms. Exhale and fold in half. Relax your spine. Melt here and relax. Soften the skull. Deep breaths. And we're going to stand up. One more challenging balance pose to do before we come onto the floor. You can do this with your butt against the wall or a piece of furniture if your balance needs help. So we're going to come into figure 4. So we're going to pick up our left leg, cross the foot on top of the knee. And like I said, you can stick your butt against a wall. To do this, you can also hold your hand on a piece of furniture. So we're coming into a kind of like a pigeon pose, but we're standing up. Open the chest, extend the heart. Maybe you're supporting yourself for balance. Maybe your hands are together. Draw the femur bones back, widen the sit bones. Take yourself as deep into the pose as you want. And deep could mean you're leaning your torso down. Deep could mean you're sinking deeper into the squat. Open the chest, anything you want with your arms. Spread out the bones of your feet. Widen the sit bones. Root the thigh bones back. Keep the chest broad. Neutral lumbar curve. Find the breath. Okay, and then go ahead and come out of the pose. Place 2 feet on the ground. Have a moment of reprieve. Feel your feet on the earth. Enjoy gratitude for your feet. Deep breaths. And then when we're ready, we're going to move to the other side. So there's no harm in helping yourself with holding on to something for balance. Or if you've never tried this, I'm pretending this is a wall. Putting your body against a wall so your backside is against the wall is a really nice nurturing way. You know, props are not there to take the pose away from us. They're there to give the pose to us. So if you need help, there's no reason not to take it. Okay, so you might be holding on to something, and you might be putting your backside against something. Lift the heart. Find the breath. How's this side compared to the other side? Are you trying to wiggle away from it by turning the pelvis or doing funky things? See what you can do to draw the femur bones straight back. Widen the sit bones. Keep the lumbar curve neutral. Extend the spine. Drop the shoulders and open the collarbones. Spread out the bones of your feet. Breathe. All right, and then go ahead and come on up.
Place your foot down onto the ground one more time. Take a breath, yield here, enjoy your feet rooting into the earth. Rise all the way up with your arms. Exhale and fold forward. Relax the spine. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt. Come down onto the floor. Let's come into pigeon pose if your body is able to do pigeon pose. So if not, of course, flip over onto your back for reverse pigeon pose. We're going to start with our right leg first. So if you need support, you can take a blanket or two and either put it underneath your right sit bone, or you can put it underneath your right sit bone and your left thigh, which is what I'm going to do. Okay. So no matter what you're doing in this posture, make sure that your pelvis is balanced, square. You don't want to have leaning into one hip. And if you're on your back, that even can be a problem. So find it no matter what. Extend the spine. You can support underneath your head with a block if that feels nice to you. With your back leg, inner spiral. So turn inner thigh lifting up toward the sky. Make sure the knee is directly on the floor. You can curl your toes under or lay your foot flat. Make sure your leg is right in line with your hip instead of out to the side a little bit. Widen the sit bones. How's your low back? Does it still have the semblance of a neutral curve? Can the spine grow? Do you feel supported? Are you able to melt? Are you able to breathe? And if you can't melt and breathe, change something. Maybe come out of the pose, maybe support underneath your hip more. Can you melt the jaw? All right, let's come up a little bit. Now you get to decide how you want to come out. Some people like to go right to dog pose from this. Some people just like to swing their back leg around. So however you comfortably get out of pigeon pose and move to the second side. If you're in reverse pigeon pose, it's easy. You just put your feet down and flip your legs. So you might choose reverse pigeon on one side and pigeon on another side, depending on what your hips feel like. It's very rare for us to feel balance in our pelvis, where both hips have the same range of motion. And this could be from injury, but it also can just be from the patterns of your life, the way you walk, the way you sit, the way you sleep. All right, extend the spine, find your alignment. So use props if you need it. Props they're so helpful. They're not crutches, they are supports that help us find access to things in a safe way that we normally wouldn't be able to get. So allow yourself to feel the support if you're using it underneath your hips so that you can rest upon it. Let the nervous system relax a little bit. Extend the spine, find your breath. Melt what you can, especially if you're able to rest your head on a block or something. This can be very supportive for the melting aspect of the pose. Come into your breath. Relax the base of the skull. Let's go ahead and breathe our way out of the posture. Come out however you want to come out. I'm going to sit for just a moment. Come down onto a blanket or a block or something underneath you. Just notice if your hips are a little more able to support you comfortably than when you first sat down on your cushion in the beginning of class. Lift the spine, drop the shoulders, come into your breathing body. In the Yoga Sutra, there's very little mention of asana, which is the physical postures of yoga. And what is mentioned about them is that they are offered solely to create a comfortable seat. So there's lots of ways to translate that. One way is to just think about a comfortable seat for meditation. One way could be to think about that translation meaning being comfortable seated in your body, just being present in your body, seating your soul in your body. So, whichever way you look at it, we're trying to find comfort. So, just notice if your hips are a little bit more comfortable or not. All right, let's lie down on our back for a moment. We're going to stretch our outer hips, so lie on your back and bring your right knee into your chest. Okay, wrap a strap. If you don't have a strap, it's okay. Around your right foot and lift that leg straight up in the air. Let the right hip move away from your shoulder so there's some space in that hip joint. The knee is soft. Okay, and then we're going to cross the leg. So you can hold the strap in two hands or just in the left hand. Cross the leg over to the left, stretch through the big toe and the inner heel, and keep reaching that right hip away from the shoulder. Inner spiral the thigh, stretch through the foot. Deep breaths in and away. If you're holding just with one arm, try taking your right arm out to the side. Okay, bring that leg back up. Open the leg out to the right. Just a little countermeasure, stretching through the inner thigh a bit. And then relax, and knee comes into the chest. Change sides. Left foot comes up into the strap. Right foot is on the floor or right leg is on the floor, whichever's comfortable for you. Let's go ahead and extend our foot and root the hip. Feel the femur bone move away in the hip joint, so kind of nestle into the bottom of the hip joint a little bit. And let's take the strap into the right hand or two hands and draw the left leg over to the right. You don't have to go far, so we're trying to get this into the hip instead of a spinal twist. Move the thigh bone away from the shoulders. Stretch through the foot. Breathe deeply. And then inhale and lift that leg all the way back up. Counter the pose just a moment. Bring that left leg out to the left. Open the chest. And then relax the leg. 2 feet on the floor or 2 legs lying on the ground comfortably. We're going to grab our 2 blankets, excuse me, or 2 blocks, whatever you have 2 of. Okay? And we're going to put them underneath our knees for a supported Supta Baddha Konasana. So like we began in class today, let's let our hips be very supported now that we're in the Supta Baddha Konasana instead of hanging. And if you have blankets, I recommend them over blocks just because they're softer. So they're just a little bit more moldy to your body. And, get them right up against your upper thighs so you have support right from the top. Don't just support underneath your knees. And don't feel like you have to be as open as you can be. So this isn't about a stretch any longer. This is about supporting your body in your pelvis and your hips being open.
So take as much height underneath your thighs as you want. Take some breaths. We're not doing it the traditional way with the bolster under our back because I don't know how many of you have bolsters. So let's just enjoy the surface of your mat, the feeling of grounding that you're close to the earth. Deep breath in. Melt that breath away. What part of your body can you melt more? Maybe the back of your head, the weight of your arms, the weight of your legs, your spine. If you want to stay here for Shavasana, you can. And if you want to make a change, you can grab those two blankets and kind of smush them together. Bring your knees to your chest for a moment and rock. Just release any circling or twisting you need. And then you can come down and lie. You can put the blankets underneath your thighs or knees so that your hips are supported in your Shavasana. So however you're choosing to be, come back into that state of melting. Close your eyes. Release any tension that you can drop down into the earth. Let go. Just give your bones up for a moment. Come back home into the breath over and over.
Let's begin to deepen our breathing. Coax yourself out of the deep places and let those deep places expand. See if you can find that inner world meeting the outer world. Let your breath move through you. And then eventually invite movement in when you're ready. Take your time to eventually find enough movement to bring yourself onto your side. Come up to a comfortable seat. I hope a comfortable seat. Support yourself. Place your palms together at your heart. Let's infuse all the light that has come before us, that has been given to us, and let's send it out to others. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.